Well, welcome everybody to Lifestyles of the Very Rich in Faith, lifestylesoftherichininfaith.org. This is Kerwin and my lovely, gorgeous wife, Brenda Jordan, behind the scenes there, my producer. Anyway, praise the Lord. Once again, it's time to delve into some of these supernatural mysteries of God. This will be called Supernaturalnaire Part 2. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go over Supernaturalnaire Part 1, but it's posted on Vimeo. I think that's how that's pronounced, Vimeo website. And you need to go over it and listen to it when you're not interrupted. That's the only way really to get the meat of the word. Excuse me. Didn't have my mic on. Anyway, we're going to look at some of the examples I'm going to share that we can find in the scriptures there, looking at Jesus. About a year, maybe a year, yeah, it's been at least a year or so when God started talking to me about this concept or this person called the Supernaturalnaire, which is really a spin-off off of the supernatural. And I really sort of didn't take it or possess it as much like I have now. Usually when I get something that's brand new to me from the Lord, I like to spend time thinking about it, praying over it, testing some things out for about a year actually before I start speaking about it. But one thing I've learned walking with God or living with the Lord the way I do, there's always a progression that you're like that I'm learning. And as I learn, when he thinks I'm good, I'm at a spot where I can tell other people about it beside my lovely wife, Brenda, then I make it public. So today, we're going to look at some examples of what Jesus did. And then also, I hope to be able to answer many questions. Some of my questions did get answered about why some of the stuff that Jesus did actually worked, other than the fact that he was the Son of God. And then sometimes ministers who are praying for people and stuff like that, sometimes people get healed in a supernatural way, sometimes they don't get healed, and it's oftentimes sort of a mystery why. I remember years ago and growing up in churches and going to meetings, particularly among charismatic meetings and stuff, some of the people would get well sort of instantaneously, and some of them would get a sort of better, and then they had to walk it out for a number of months or years or so forth to get better. And it just didn't happen like we always thought. Like we read in the Bible, Jesus, when he was doing it, it was like, bam, quick. But then, there's really no example, there's nowhere in the scriptures, in the Gospels now, that Jesus ever did any. When he actually performed a miracle, there's really no praying at all, actually. There's no asking God. And so many times he would just say, get up, to the lame man, walk. And he walked. No fighting the devil, no struggle. None of what I grew up in seeing preachers and teachers do. And even today, they're screaming and going on. So the Lord says, son, look, that's not how I do it. I mean, I can do it that way, and he does allow our, how do I put it, our idiosyncrasies, our stupidity of how we do things, because we're human. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We screw up, and we're kind of jacked up. Everybody is. So, however, what I've learned is when you have a chance to get to know the one, he does help you, really, even if you are jacked up. He will actually help you to be unjacked up. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I like to do. I want to read the scriptures, but I want to talk to you a little bit first, because what I'm trying to do is make what I'm saying to everybody that sees this video and listen to it very, very real. I'm not just doing it because I want you to feel good, yes, but I want you to live well, okay, in like everything and all the time. And so this supernatural person, or the Supernaturalnaire that he told me, is a very special being. And I'm going to share some things that I hope, as I speak these principles and concepts and ideas, that God himself will give you an illumination, an understanding of really what I'm speaking to you about. So let's see here. I got some notes here. I got a lot of great things here. Let me share this here. Let's see here. So as I was talking with the Lord some days ago, anytime you're feeling down, like, I don't know if you just feel like bad, when you feel bad, like emotionally, physically, I actually learned how to feel better. And again, for me, it's getting alone. Now, I'm going to show you something, and let's start with that. You guys that are feeling bad, or when you do feel bad, or you feel like a disruption in your emotions. Now, I'm gonna start over here. Let's look at Matthew 14. And this is out of my new Bible. I think I took this from Brenda. She got it, but I'm reading. I love this Tisdale. Anyway, Matthew chapter 14. I'm going to read the whole story, but give you the background, because in this story, there's a lot of feelings and emotions that Jesus actually shows, okay? And he actually shows you how to deal when you actually are traumatized. Now, that word trauma, I think everybody kind of got an idea what traumatization means. Like when you're traumatized, you're not well, emotionally, physically, and even mentally. It messes you up. But I'm going to read this story here, and I want you to think about the word traumatized and how Jesus dealt with it. Matthew chapter 14, verse 1. When Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee, heard about Jesus, he said to his advisors, "This must be John the Baptist, raised from the dead. That is why he can do such miracles." Now, people think reincarnation is sort of a new concept. It's really not a new concept, but you can see evidences of reincarnation, or the belief system of reincarnation, way back here when Jesus walked the face, when he was here on the earth. It's not a new concept. I think it's a false belief system. It's a false. It's a concept of man's creation in order to pacify his true nature. Okay, it's something that he does, and there's not just reincarnation, but many other types of false beliefs, false mindsets, and false behaviors that people do in order to make them feel better about them, like they're okay. But usually those types of beliefs, false belief systems, are designed to try to insulate you from him, okay, from a creator, from you having an accountability to him. That's the purpose of reincarnation. And many other types of mindsets and belief systems that are like that, similar to that. So in verse 3, he says, "For Herod had arrested and put John in prison as a favor to his wife, Herodias, the former wife of Herod's brother, Philip." Now, Herod was king, He was actually the king of the Jews during this time. He, in the region of Jerusalem, Herod was over Jerusalem. The governor, Pilate, Caesar had put him in charge of those people. And he was a very, he didn't have any self-control. Okay, I mean, his nature and his body, whatever he wanted to do, it just dominated him. And and then this woman, you're going to read about her, Herodias, was a very attractive woman and a daughter. And they were playing King Herod to really take over the throne. She was using her sexuality and her seductive attractiveness to gain access to the throne and really basically rule the Jews. So it says here, John had told Herod, it is against the laws of God for you to marry her. He literally took his brother's wife. Why? Well, because he's king. Now, he was a wicked king. Herod wanted to kill John for that. Now, there's other scriptures where Herod would sit and have conversation with John. He would ask him questions. See, Herod knew what he was doing was not right. And this is just one thing that's recorded. There's a lot of stuff that Herod was doing that's not recorded, okay, that he was doing as king. And he knew, how did he know that? From within himself. You know it ain't right, okay? The guy's killing or murder, they know that ain't right. You say, well, just because they know that's not right, will they still do it? Yeah, they're doing it every day. But so it says here, against God's law. See, God's law for you to marry her. Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of a riot because all the people believed John was a prophet. In other words, John had the reputation that this guy has been called from God, and he was truly called from God. If you read the Christmas, what we call the Christmas story before Jesus was born, and this is why I say God says a baby, even though they're not out here in the physical world yet, they're conceived in that womb, they're already alive, right in the woman's womb. And it says that John, when he heard Mary come to visit her, because she was pregnant with Jesus, that it says that he leaped within her and that he was filled with the Spirit of God. Can you imagine a baby unborn filled with the Spirit of God? So that goes to tell you, people, we have a discussion today about the unborn not having certain rights and privileges. Well, according to God's law, they do. With him, they are living. Once the egg and the sperm hit on conception, that's life. Now, that's what God calls life. That's where it starts in the physical, natural world. Now, man has a different definition of life, okay? They're battling it right now in the courts about after so many weeks, maybe that's not really a baby, okay? But when you really listen inside, God is saying on conception, bam, that's life right there. Now, that's what he calls it starting. He said that ain't life. They call it a fetus. Okay, so I'm trying to show you some differences between God's laws and man's law. Now, so Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of a riot because all the people believed that John was a prophet. Now, at his birthday party, Herodias' daughter performed a dance that greatly pleased him. Now, she was sexy, very attractive. And she danced, and you know, when you see a very attractive, sexy, hot woman, to a man, that's gonna tear him down. He's gonna lose his mind almost, basically. And they were drinking. I want you to get the picture of this. This is a king, and it's his birthday party. He's having fun, and he's got all of his nobles there and everybody showing off. So he promised with a vow to give her anything she wanted. Anything. And at her mother's urging, the girl said, I want the head of John the Baptist on a tray. Wow. You see how evil that woman is right there? Brenda has this thing, she says, and you know, Brenda has some very attractive children. And she says, well, you know, use your good looks,
Your power for good, yeah.
which is your power for good. Okay? So when you're physically attractive, you know you're physically attractive. Okay? And you can use that physical attraction for a lot of stuff. I mean, for power, for breaking down people. This woman was, listen, here's a woman power. This woman's power was so powerful. Not only did she had the king by her finger. I mean, she just had him gone. And then the daughter came in and swooped on him and he lost his mind. When I say he was in his right mind, but he kind of lost it. Okay, now watch this. And see, that's the emotional part of us. So this daughter, she performed a dance that greatly pleased him. And then he promised with an oath, with a vow, to give her anything she wanted. At her mother's request, the girl said, I want the head of John the Baptist on a tray. So the king, look at it, he regretted what he had said, because now all the people heard that. But because of the vow he made in front of his guests, he issued the necessary orders. And so John was beheaded in the prison, and his head was brought on a tray and given to the girl, and she took it to her mother. Later, okay, so she presents John the Baptist's head to her mother, and she's thinking, okay, that'll quiet him now. He's going to stop talking about me and Herod. Now, look at verse 12. Now, here's where I want to get into the Supernaturalnaire part. Later, John's disciples now. Okay, these are not the guys that Jesus, the 12 that he had called and brought walking with him. These are the guys that's been walking with John way before Jesus came along. So John's disciples came for John's body. Notice they only got the body, not the head. Remember, the head was given to the mother. Got his body, and they buried it. Then they went and they told Jesus what had happened. Now, I'm setting this up because I'm leading to something here, because people often think Jesus had no feelings, like emotional. They put Jesus, yeah, he's the Son of God, he's way up there, da 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 da. But now here on earth, he's human. Okay, that means he's going to feel everything we would feel. To have your first cousin now. This is not like a second, third, fourth. This is somebody that they were about 6 months apart in age. They grew up together. They were like favorite cousins. I got a cousin. I got several cousins. I'm not close to all my cousins, but I got one cousin that I'm closer than all the rest. We talk. We grew up together. We went to church together. We went to Sunday school together. We did summer programs together. I was a little bit older, but we grew up. And so I want you to get that picture in your mind. And so when I read this, I thought, so here's somebody coming that knows John. And notice it says, and they told Jesus. Now, here, when you get very, very disheartening news, death, sickness, money problems, something that's designed to like break you down emotionally, trauma. This is a trauma thing now. The next move is extremely significant and very important to a supernatural nair. Because what you do in your next move will determine a lifetime result. And Jesus, now I want you to watch real closely because this is what he does. So he gets this news that the cousin he grew up with has been murdered. So I imagine Jesus was like, bam, hit. Like, whew, he was hit hard. This is somebody he really liked and loved. They grew up together. So, verse 13, Matthew chapter 14, verse 13, as soon as Jesus heard the news, he left in a boat to a remote area to be alone. See that? So, now I know that some people don't like to be alone, but you have to learn that. You have to learn how to do this. Because if you don't learn how to be alone, because remember, Jesus also said, physically, I may look like I'm alone, but I am never truly all alone. See, there's nowhere you can go, ever, that you can be completely alone away from God. He's always there. Now, we can feel alone sometimes because of trauma and emotional stress. Our minds tripping out. But if you can get this alone concept down and pull yourself in, God will come in and his strength will build you back up. That's what I'm saying. That's the key right there. That's key number one. See, he went somewhere alone because he was punched, hit hard, real hard. Satan. Now, behind the scenes, behind the people, this is the evil entity, better known as Satan, and his rulership among men to try to get Jesus to do things that he shouldn't do. Okay? So he figured from a spiritual perspective, I'll come against somebody very, very close to Jesus, like his first cousin, and I'm going to have him murdered. Let's see what Jesus do. But see, Jesus, when he got the news, he went to go be alone. Now, the Bible says, if you read Psalm 27, it says that the Lord is my light and my strength. So Jesus knew where to go get strength. You got to know where to get the strength. It ain't in, listen, true strength, they call it energy, comes from God. The power source actually comes from him. Now, you can eat right, you can drink the fluids and help build you up physically, and that could help. But remember, no man lives by stuff or bread alone. It's not just in the stuff. Jesus knew I've got to get with God, because when I get what he says to me, when I get in his presence, I'm built up. And it could take you time to get there if you're not used to doing it. Most people won't do what I'm just saying right now. They will not do it. But I'm going to put it out to you like God told me. He said, you got to tell them anyway, so they'll know when the hit comes, what they should do. And if they do that, that strength of mine will come in there. The Lord is my strength. Now, Psalm 21, verse 1, the word strength is mentioned twice. And that was from King David. And when you go study King David's life, he had King Saul trying to kill him. And then he had a son named Absalom. His own son was trying to kill him. Can you imagine your own son want to kill you? Okay, this is what David was dealing with. But during the life of David, King David, Israel's second king, God protected him. He never really lost. And I looked at that. I said, here's a guy that, and he wasn't all that good either. I mean, he had a man's, what's it, Bathsheba. Her husband was put on the front line to be killed. He set that up to have her because he saw her showering outside. Very beautiful. Here's that power of the woman again. And he lost his mind. When I say lost his mind, he said, well, who is her husband? Go put him on the front line. He wanted him to be on the front so he could kill and take his wife. And that's how him and Bathsheba got. So, but here's the unique thing about King David that nowhere in the Bible, at least I found it nowhere, that God says about him. You know what the one thing about King David that he never said about any other man in Scripture? He said, this is a man after my heart. What? God himself said that. Yeah, it was his heart. That was the secret. But he had a Bathsheba's husband murdered. Listen, the one that I'm talking. Listen, the Creator says, look, the whole thing is mine. You, them, what you got, what you don't got, everything you see, smell, hear is mine, not yours. Everything, everyone, everybody, everywhere. That's what the Bible, Psalm 24, verse 1. The earth, the heavens, it's all mine. But the heart, where's your heart at? Only you know. I don't know. But I tell you what, that heart, the real heart, it's going to show up. And that's what people don't want to say. Well, maybe this, maybe that. Well, we got to look at what's going on in the material world. So God says his heart is like mine, son. And that's why I kept David. And David wrote Psalm 91. You know what Psalm 91 says? Take him over there and show him this in this Bible. David wrote this psalm. He wrote it, man. And this is, and look at this here. And David lived a long life. I don't think he ever lost a battle. If he lost a battle, it was only temporary. God gave him continual winning, like winning every time. He messed up, God would do things and fix it. Psalm 91. It says here, well, you should read, well, let me read. It said, those who live in the shelter of the Most High, they'll find rest in his shadow. This I declare about the Lord. Ooh, listen to this. He alone is my refuge. He's my place of safety. He's my God, and I trust him. For he will rescue you from every trap, and he'll protect you from deadly disease. Look at the coronavirus. That coronavirus ain't going nowhere. It lives here with us. Okay? He says here, but he said he'll protect you from it, though. Amen. I'm going to show you how he does it. He will cover you with his feathers. I think the late, great Billy Graham said, oh, the feathers, those are the angels of God. Look at this here. He will shelter you with his wings. These are angels. His faithful promises are your armor and protection. Do not be afraid of the terrors of the night. Man, when Ben and I sometimes watching the news here in LA, they had a helicopter crash late last night in Newport Beach or Huntington Beach area. One of the officers was killed. They don't know what happened. I don't know either. But I was reminded of the scripture. But then there's all other stuff going on. He says here, don't be afraid of the terrors of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day. Do not dread the disease that stalks in the darkness, nor the disaster that strikes in the middle of the day. Though 1,000 fall at your side, wow, and even 10,000 of people dying all around you, these evils will not even touch you.
Amen.
What? Just open your eyes and see how the wicked, what? Wicked are punished. Yeah, I know people say, oh, he was a good man. He did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. Well, you don't know his heart. I mean, you don't know. We think we know. See, we think we know a lot of stuff about other people. And that's the problem. We spend too much time thinking about somebody else. And you need to be thinking about you. You need to be making yourself right. Oh, I know you go to church, pay your tithes and offering, helping the orphans. But God said, that ain't what's moved me. What moved me? I'm going to show you what moved God. I'm going to keep going. If you make the Lord your refuge, make him your refuge. Yeah, that's something that you got to work on. Takes work. People don't like to work. People complain about work every day. And they got jobs, they make money, put food on the table, do all this stuff, and they still complain. If you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you. None. No disease or plague will come near your home. For he will order angels to protect you wherever you go.
Amen.
Wow. They will hold you up in their hands. I told you how I almost drowned there in Switzerland, right? So you won't even hurt your foot on a stone. You will trample upon lions and cobras. Sometimes I'm walking out in the mountains, and I don't know, there's a snake right there. Rattle. He ain't rattling, though. I said, oh, wow, Lord. He said, I got you covered, son. You're always covered. You will crush fierce lions and serpents under your feet. The Lord says, I will rescue those who love me. I will protect those who trust in my name. When they call on me, what am I going to do? I will answer. And I will be with them in trouble. I'm going to rescue and I'm going to honor them. I'm going to reward them with a long, full, satisfying life and give them my success. Or the word says salvation. Whew. Okay, let me go back over here to Matthew 14, where I left off about Jesus, the Supernaturalnaire. This is who I learned it from. Matthew chapter 14. Now, as soon as Jesus heard the news, he left in a boat to a remote area to be alone. Now, did you get that concept, alone? But the crowds heard where he was headed, and they followed him on foot from many towns. And Jesus, he saw the huge crowd, and as he stepped from the boat, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. Woo. So something happened to Jesus between the time he left to the time he's healing the sick. Don't you think? I just told you what happened to him. I just said it. I read it in Psalm 91. He went toward the one. He was down. He was hit. Mentally most traumatized. Cousin, closest cousin. His first cousin was murdered. And can you get the picture? No head on him, just the body. So he's traumatized. He's hit, crying. But he got strength. Strength of God came in him, lifted him up, and says, John is up here in heaven. You know that, Jesus. He's comforted. What you going to do? What's your next move, Jesus? Are you going to go storm Rome now and start a revolt. Jesus never had a problem with his government, as wicked, corrupt, and bad as Rome was. People complain about the United States of America. That's one of the dumbest thing a person can do. Real dumb. Who has never really been nowhere else outside of America. I listen to these fools. They talk against the president. They talk against the governor. They talk against the mayor. They talk against us. We have such an organized system of operation here. And these fools complain about everything. Did you know government comes from God? Okay? You go to Africa. Yeah, this is Black History Month. Let me say this. Go to Africa, anywhere in Africa. I guarantee you, they don't come close to America. America is not a racist country. Now, there's racists in the country, but it don't make the whole country a racist country. You understand? So stop saying that. I'm telling you, God hates it. He don't like it. And some of you, in your heart now, that's your problem. Yeah, it's you. It goes back to you. You wondering, well, gee, how come I still got this problem? My body is breaking all up. Well, look at you. Judge yourself. It's you, not that person. So Jesus, he gets himself together and he's moved with this compassion. I had this definition of the compassion God gave me. It's not in Webster's dictionary either. But when you got that compassion of God, you can't help yourself. He said, I'm going to heal them all. Look at that. And Jesus healed them all. There's nothing hidden here about that they had to believe God. There's no faith on the people at all. They didn't have to give any money to help the poor people over in wherever they were. Most of these people couldn't even read during this day. That's why the people who were the lawyers and the ones writing the law, jacking it all up, hoodwinking it's rigged. Yeah, only the rich or the well-off could get into synagogue. If you couldn't pay, you're not going to be a part of this. Yeah, in the name of God. You think, well, what do they do today? They do the same thing today. Now, we're so-called educated today, sophisticated. We got our college degrees, right? And it says here that evening, so Jesus is doing this all day long. His compassion didn't get tired. Didn't get tired. Shoot, the boss man say, hey, I need you to work an extra hour. I'm tired. I don't want to work an extra hour. And they're going to pay you more. No, it's 8 hours, time for me to go home. So that evening, the disciples came to Jesus and said, this is a remote place. It's getting late. It's already getting late, it says here. Send these people away. They can go to the villages and buy for themselves, Lord. We're tired. And look what Jesus says to them. But Jesus said, this isn't necessary. It's not necessary for them to go. You feed them. You want them to listen to you talk. They listen to me all day long. I came out here to heal all these people, and now you want me to send them away? He says, look, if I send these people away, they're going to die on the way back because they ain't ate all day long. And then somebody has a bright idea. He says, I have 5 loaves and 2 fish. See, here's the man's concept. Here's my money, but I only got a little bit of it. And it ain't enough to pay for all these people. So Jesus said, bring that little bit of money you got to me. Wow. Now here's the Supernaturalnaire here. Verse 18, then he told the people to sit down on the grass. There's an instruction there. Sit your butt down. Stop thinking. Stop doing the way you think it should be done. You got to come out of Whew, it's kind of like whatever the experts tell you about your money, go in the opposite direction. That's what God is saying. God told me that one time. He said, son, whatever he's saying, do just the opposite. Whatever they doing, go this way. Everybody's investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum or some kind of cryptocurrency. Don't do it. That's trouble. Don't never follow the rushing of the herd. Ever. Anyway, now here's what Jesus does. He said, bring them to me. And he said, then he told the people to sit down on the grass. Then he took the 5 loaves. He took your money, 5 loaves, 2 fish, and he looked up to heaven. Okay, now this is a Supernaturalnaire concept right there. I just gave you one. You remember the first one? What was the first one?
Let's go away to the.
Be alone, by yourself. Get used to being by yourself. Get accustomed, because that's when God comes in. That's when he's going to get close to you, because now you want to get close to him. Bible says James wrote, draw close to God and what? He comes to you. But see, you got to initiate the activity. You got to, see, God just don't come. No, you got to hustle for him. Do some work for it. See, we want everything easy. No. So, concept number 2, he looked up to heaven. Now, what does that mean? He's got 5 fish. Okay, you got a little bit of money. You can't feed all these people. You don't have enough money. We don't have enough food. I'm using money for the food. You got a little bit of money. Your mortgage is late, rent's past due, the cars, the utilities, the cell phones, iPhones, pads, what else? School tuition, new tires. You need stuff. But Jesus, when he had a need, he looked to heaven, and look at this concept here. What's he doing? And blessed them. Who's them? Blessed them. Then breaking the loaves into pieces, he gave the bread to the disciples, who distributed to the people. They all ate as much as they wanted. And afterward, the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftovers. About 5,000 men were fed that day, in addition to all the women and children. Now, I'm going to close out with this. I'm going to, I got to give you a little bit of details about how Jesus did that. Okay? Now this is found in Matthew chapter 6. There's a thing called permission. If you don't have God's permission, you can't do that. Now, I don't care what your preacher teaches, well, we're supposed to be. Jesus said the works he do, you can do. No, you can't do that. Those men had the permission. If you read Matthew chapter 10, it says that Jesus gave them the permission on his behalf to do what he couldn't do because there were so many people. All right? So, if you want to get the permission, here's how you're going to get it. But you're going to have to work for it. It's not going to come easy just because you're a child of God, just because you read the Bible, just because you praying. That ain't enough. Oh, by the way, or fasting. That ain't enough. Okay, so here's how you're going to get the permission. Now, in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus gave about, what were they? 7, I call these 7 wonders in living life, okay? And it's in the prayer that he prayed as an example to follow. So here it is, and I'm going to close out. Matthew chapter 5. Where is that prayer, Lord? Matthew chapter 5. Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew chapter 6. So he says here, when you pray, verse 7, Matthew chapter 6, verse 7. When you pray, don't babble on. Don't babble. I like how this says, reads, honey. Don't babble on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again and again and again. Have you ever done that? Yes, we've done that too. Don't be like them, okay? For your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask him, right? Remember, he knows everything. So I used to say, well, why pray? And he would answer back. He said, because of getting you straight, getting your heart right. That's why you're praying. You need help. We got to get you fixed better. Your attitude is off. Your temperament is wrong. Your intentions are bad. Okay? So we need to get you hooked up correctly to the source. So Jesus says, this is how you're going to do it. He says, our Father in where? He's outside of the system. So you got to get connected with a system higher than the system of the world. Okay, because have you figured out that this world system is designed to keep you down? Okay, they're not trying to get you moving forward. If you ain't, listen, come on now. It's designed to keep you down, not make you a success. No, they want to bring you down. Okay, it's not designed for that. So you got to look to heaven. Okay, and he said, now here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give, I call these 7 wonders in living life. Number 1 is honor. You got to give him honor. Giving money, now listen real closely. Helping the poor and people who need help is a good thing, a good work. And yes, you'll get credit for that. But it's not just the activity of doing that act that really brings God's honor. Remember now, if I'm God, what really can you give me? Like, if I created everything and everybody, what can you give me? Nothing. Not really. The earth, the world, and everybody that dwells on it, it says it all belongs to him. So then what are we giving God? Well, here's what you can give God. And this takes a choice. This is from the heart. So you honor God from the heart. Okay? You're doing it with an intent that's right, okay, before him. Only you will know that. Now, some people do things, particularly when they're trying to help people, is because they want to get a fat tax deduction, which is, you'll get the business reward for that. Okay? You'll get a credit for that. But there's another higher reward that God gives. He says if you do it in secret, quietly, don't tell nobody about it, don't even put it in your name, keep it hidden, then, and people they don't find out, they don't see it, but I saw it, you'll get a higher return. That's honor. That's honor, what I'm saying. Number 2, thankfulness. He says here, our Father in heaven, may your name be kept. I don't really like that word holy, but the name, it really means a rarity. Your name. That's being thankful. Jesus was thankful for what he had. See, some of it, and I learned this from Brenda, my wife. Many years ago, we had one car. It was a Ford Escort. I believe it was a 1984 Was it 84? 99, something like that. It was a Ford Escort. How many know about the Ford Escort? I don't think they make it anymore. But I met Brenda when I was trying to get her to marry me. She had a nice white Ford Escort, and and it was the only basic Ford that I had ever been in that had no air conditioning in it. I couldn't believe it. I said, "What? There's no, at least have air conditioning in the car." But Brenda was a single mother. Now listen to this: a single mother raising 2 kids in a condo, no help. Now people think, well, she had family, she had money coming here. No. Brenda had no help. She did on occasion get some assistance from the church because the man that was the pastor, Will Strong, was a good man. And on occasion, but even that was very limited. Brenda gave more to that church than the church gave to her, actually. Because she was working with the children. She put on programs together. She had to volunteer like constantly. Then she would do things for some of the ministries in this church. I saw that. And she had 2 kids. And she's running them. Listen, she took them to private school. How does a single mother with no help, no money, with a car with no air conditioning go to a private school? I was like, what? That was God doing. Because see, she had this relationship from the heart with God. And they let her in. They let them kids in there. These kids went to private school with no money. When I say no money, I mean Brenda didn't have no money back then. So she was thankful. Number 3 wonder, gratefulness. Here's Matthew chapter 6, verse, may your name be kept rare. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's gratefulness. There's goodness. Now look at that. What do you think they're doing in heaven right now? Just imagine what you think heaven is. Let me ask you this. Do you think they got a lot of problems?
No.
I'm talking about, because look what Jesus is saying. I want the way it is. He's saying, look, where I come from, I want it to be like it is there down here. Mm-hmm. So that means wherever that is must be better than where we are. I'm telling you, it is. Yeah. And he said you can live the heaven lifestyle on earth in an evil world. Okay. That's literally what he's saying. People want to die, and you can, when you die, say, I'm going to heaven.
Free from their problem.
Free from my problem. Okay, but what Jesus is saying, no. Look, if you learn what I'm teaching today, you bring heaven to you, and you start living heaven now. You live in heaven now. So that means, there's a change in you that has to take place. So you can experience this heaven lifestyle of the Supernaturalnaire here. So I'm telling you, so that's goodness. Okay, look at Matthew chapter 6. Give us today the food we need. Now, look at this is talking about here now. We're February 20th, I believe, 2022. That would include right now. That means food, money, business, supplies, goods, health, strength, no trauma, overcoming trauma, mental attitude, mental problems. Give us what we need, Lord. That's what he's saying. See, it's coming from him, from heaven to this evil world. Then he says, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Now that's called indebtedness. Your life should be an example of being indebted to him. See, I feel because of what God has brought me through all these years, in 67 years, I am indebted to him. Okay? He's kept me alive, for example, more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. Why? I asked the Lord, why? Because I like you, Kerwin. And I like to see you live and not die. I like to see you on top. I like to see you happy. I like to see you rich. I like to see you successful. I like to see you strong, good looking, and mighty for me, because that's a witness. Everywhere you go, people can't help themselves. They don't know what it is. I don't care, but let them see it. And you just roll with it, because that's my love and affection for you on you. That's what he told me. So it's not my fault. Anyway, he says here, and don't let us yield to temptation, and rescue us from the evil one. Now that's the evil entity, I call it. I got a whole teaching on that. I'll try to talk about that another time. But so this is guidance. And the last thing, and rescue us from the evil one. The last thing I want to talk is protection. So I gave you 7 wonders from God. Number 1, I'm going to repeat them, I'm going to close. Number 1, and they're in Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through the end of that prayer. Honor, thankfulness, gratefulness, goodness, indebtedness, guidance, and protection. God is the domain of all creation. He is the source and strength of all of life. And finally, he is the all-encompassing wonder, wisdom, and wealth in our world. Lord, thank you today. I pray for all my viewing audience that this will be one of the best videos that they've ever heard. Amen. And that it will not only empower them, Lord, but give them a state of being far above all the evils within them, in this world, and in their life, so they can live more of a supernaturalnaire lifestyle, the lifestyle of God, I call it, here in this earth and in this world today, forever. Amen. All right. God bless you guys. Till next time. Bye-bye.